Hey there, this is Stormie Andrews, co-founder of Yokel Local, creator of the world's best buyer persona system. And in today's training series, we're going to talk about a topic that I've been approached probably more than any other topic out there. And it's been from business owners, marketing managers, CMOs. And here's the question that they've been posing to me. And it's this: Stormie, how do I go about reworking my marketing strategy post-COVID? And that's a very good topic. So with that being said, let's dive right into it and get started. So one of the things that you need to agree with if this is you and you want to rework your marketing, and by the way, if you haven't thought about reworking your marketing, this is something you may want to consider. And the techniques I'm going to share with you aren't necessarily just for post-COVID. You can use this at any time when you're working on a marketing strategy. But right now, it's probably more important than ever in the life of your business. So the question I have to ask you is, do you agree with the following? Has the world changed a little bit? It sure has. Not just the fact that we're wearing masks, but it's a different world. The trials, the tribulations, the concerns of your buyers, of your goods and services, is changed. It's definitely changed. So if you're going to rework your marketing strategy, maybe it's a good idea to figure out where you should start and where you should go from here. So let's look at that. The world has changed, right? So what does that mean? Is it possible that you changed? Absolutely. You may not realize it. You probably do. There's been plenty of surveys that have asked consumers and business owners and all sorts of people, has the pandemic changed them? And the answer has been a resounding yes. So think about this for just a moment. If you've changed, is it fair enough to say that your customers have changed? Absolutely. They've changed. So if you realize that you've changed, your customers changed, their buying habits have changed, their emotions have changed, their triggering events have changed, that means there's a strong possibility that you need to rework your marketing. So I'm known as the guy who creates buyer personas, and that's not what this particular video is about. But there is one that we talk about buyer personas, and that's a video you may want to check out. So it really comes down to strategy. And Sun Tzu said it best. Sun Tzu is a famous general that lived around 200 BC. And basically what he says is that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, and tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. You can find that in the book, The Art of War, but it's credited to Sun Tzu, like I said, a famous Chinese general, and it is so important now. Strategy without tactics is the noise before defeat, but tactics, this is the one that we're going to dive into. Tactics without strategy, is the noise before defeat. And that's really what we want to dive into. So let's talk about the strategy. And one of the things that you have to do, in my opinion, is you need to start with identifying the problem and identifying how to move forward. So in that particular scenario is, when it comes to your strategy, sequence matters. And when I had this conversation with a variety of business owners, marketing managers, maybe someone just like you, it's been a scenario in this post-COVID world where the answer has either been, let's make our salespeople more aggressive. Let's get them out there to sell more. Let's just increase our advertising budget. Maybe that's what you're doing. And I'm here to tell you that increasing your advertising budget may be the right answer, but it may not be. And if you haven't gone through these steps, you just don't know. Throwing money at the problem isn't necessarily the right thing to do. So what I'm about to show you now or share with you is what I recommend being your first step. And the first thing is building out what I like to call a marketing wheel. So if we look at this marketing wheel, we have several things here that I want you to pay attention to. And you can draw it on a piece of paper, because this is going to give you the ability to reflect on your business and analyze what you should be working on. So if you were to draw 4 lines on a sheet of paper intersecting, you'll end up with 8 points. And at the top point, you'll write awareness, followed by engagement, lead gen, conversion optimization, wow, customer ladder, reviews, testimonials, generating referrals. What I would recommend you doing before you continue this video, pause the video now. Just pause it right here on this screen. Go grab a sheet of paper, because you're going to want to do this exercise, and this is going to give you the ability of rating where you're at so you can determine what your strategy should be. So I'm assuming that you've written that down on a piece of paper and we're ready to move forward. So what do we do in this marketing wheel? You're like, okay, Stormie, I've gotten a piece of paper, I've drawn up this marketing wheel, now what? I need to get things going. So the first thing we're going to have you do is rate your business in each of these categories. The first thing I would have you do is rate your business in terms of awareness, right? Are people aware of your goods and services? Are they aware of your brand? How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5? Meaning that if you said, you know what, Stormie, when it comes to awareness, when people are looking for our goods and services, we're rock stars. No one in the market shows up better for us than us. We've got billboards, we got TV commercials, we're on, Pandora and Spotify and the radio. And if someone searched for us on Google, we are in the top spots. We are absolute rock stars. In that case, I'm going to have you give yourself a 5 in awareness. And if you say, you know what, Stormie, it's non-existent, no one can find us, we haven't had a marketing or an advertising budget in forever, in that case, and we're not even in the game, give yourself a 1. If you believe you're average, you're going to give yourself a 3. 4, you're going to give yourself, if you give yourself a 4, you're basically saying that you're above average, and 2, you're below average. So what does that look like? Let's look at it here for just a second if I pop this screen. So in awareness, we're going to have these mini circles throughout this marketing wheel. The innermost circle, or somewhere is basically a 1. As you move yourself to the end, the tip of the circle, that would be a 5. So in this particular scenario, let's say if you're rating yourself in awareness and you said, you know what, Stormie, I am a 3. Well, in that particular scenario, you would just kind of mark a dot on the awareness line where you believe a 3 would be. You're saying that you're average, right? And if you think you're above average, below average, just whatever, follow this methodology. So if you have to think about it, once again, pause the video. Just pause the video, give it some thought, and see where you're at in terms of awareness as it pertains to your goods and services in your marketplace. It's pretty simple, right? So that's awareness. The next thing you want to rate yourself on is engagement. So what do I mean by engagement? Engagement is how are people engaging with your brand? Meaning that if you're sending out emails, are people opening them? What's your open rate? Do you even know? What's your click-through rate? Is that happening? Do you even know? If you don't, you should. When you post something on social media, are people interacting with your social media stuff? Basically what I'm getting at here are people interacting with your brand. So in this particular scenario, let's say if you gave yourself a 1 because no one's interacting with anything that you have, well then give yourself a 1, but I know you're probably not a 1 out there. You're a higher number. You may be a 1, but whatever it is, be honest, be truthful, give yourself a rating, and you would just mark it where you believe your number would be. Remember, 5, you're a rock star. You're at the very top, the tip of the line. 1, non-existent or very, very poor. You're going to be more towards the center of your lines. 3, you're average. 2, below average. 4, you're above average. So now you rated yourself on engagement, and once again, pause it. If you think you got to think about it and you want to go check some of the data, by all means do so. Pause it. I'll be here when you return. So if you've paused it and you've returned, let's look at the next thing on the wheel. So the next thing you want to rate is lead generation. Are you generating leads? Are leads coming in through whatever whatever systems and processes and advertising and marketing efforts you have in place? Are you getting leads? Pretty important, right? So now in this particular scenario, let's say you said, you know what, Stormie, we sure could get a lot more leads. We're not getting enough. In this particular scenario, let's say you give yourself a 2. By all means, give yourself a rating. And this is self-reflection. Don't cheat on this because you're only cheating yourself. You're not showing this to me or anyone else, but when we get through this exercise, I promise you, it's designed to provide clarity to you. And as you start getting that clarity, unlike you've ever had before, it's going to help direct what your marketing strategy should be. So in that particular scenario, you're like, you know what, we're not getting the amount of leads that we need. We're 2. We're in the game. We're just not as good as we should be. So the next thing that we want to look at after lead generation is conversion optimization. So let's say in conversion optimization, you give yourself a 4. You might be asking, what is conversion optimization? Conversion optimization is essentially this. Of the leads you're getting, are they converting into prospects and customers? Is that happening? So this isn't a question about quantity of leads. That was in the previous question, lead generation. But of the leads you're getting, whether that's a high number or a low number, are they converting into leads? Are they converting into prospects and customers? If that's the case, rate yourself. In this scenario, I assume that you are a rock star, so we're giving yourself a 4, but give yourself whatever number you believe you deserve, right? So now you've rated yourself on conversion optimization. As we have done in the other sections, if you feel you need to pause because you really want to put some thought into this, pause the video. That's okay. I'll be here when you return. So once you've rated yourself on conversion optimization, I want you to look at the next one. And the next area that you're going to rate yourself on is what I like to call the wow. What is the wow? Well, the wow is the what happens in regards to structured wow events that you can do or put in place for brand new customers of yours. You see, there's generally a disconnect with many organizations, many organizations. Think about this for just a second. When someone buys goods and services from you, and once they've moved from that area of being a prospect to becoming a customer, what sort of wow experiences have you put in place to make them feel warm and fuzzy that they've chosen to do business with the right organization? You see, this disconnect that I run into with a lot of organizations is this, that once that prospect turns into a customer, in their mind, their feelings are, wow, I've made a great decision, and I've just started this wonderful relationship with this particular organization. Well, when we look at the organization on the other side, they feel like, okay, we've got the check, and now we've got to move on to get more customers. So we have one member of the party thinking that we just entered into a relationship. The other member of the party is now thinking about the next customer, and based on their actions, they're almost terminating that relationship. Now, the thing I want you to consider, or the scenario that I want you to consider, is this, that when they bought your goods and services, especially if they bought goods and services from you, or they committed to do business with you, there was probably a little trepidation. Maybe they were concerned about your organization, and they were debating between you and another company, and they just, for whatever the reason may be, maybe superior salesmanship, they decided to do business with you. But often what happens is that fear and trepidation, you want to lower that tension. You want to lower the tension, and the best way of doing it is by putting in structured wow scenarios. Processes that you can put, that additional processes that you can put in place to let them realize that yes, they did make the right decision and they're doing business with the right company. And it gives you the ability of enhancing that relationship to levels that you may have never imagined. So in this scenario, do you have structured wow events that are designed to happen after prospects move from prospect to becoming a customer? So in this scenario, we're going to say that you really don't have much in place. It's only happening by the fact that you're great people. I'm here to tell you that that's not enough. The world is changing. We're in this experiential economy, and it's all about the experience. So in this scenario, I'm like, in this fictional company, it's going to be a 2, but rate yours. Do you have structured wow experiences? If you do, write them down. What other ones can you add to make sure, to take yourself to a 5? So as we continue down this marketing will audit, we're going to look at the next category, which is Ascension and expansion. And the wow component is so important because it ties right into this. So when we talk about Ascension and expansion, sometimes Ascension, expansion, customer ladder, I see those two as one of the same, and basically it boils down to this. What processes do you have in place to take your customers to make them become clients? And then your clients, what processes do you have in place for them to become advocates? And then your advocates, how do you make them raving fans? And why is that important? You see, a customer is a customer. There's really no loyalty. They're just going to use the most convenient, or they've given you a shot. But what if you can make that customer a client? And what do I mean by a client? Well, a client is someone that, as it pertains to your goods and services, you're top of mind. They're going to come to you before they come to anyone else, right? That's a great position to be in. A much better position to be in if you have a lot of clients on your books versus customers. Customers one time, client, they'll come back to you. But better than a client is an advocate. You see, an advocate is the person that's a little bit better than a client, because an advocate is an advocate of your brand. If asked, if given the opportunity, they will tell others about you. That's where your best referrals come from, because now if you do have a sales proposition, these advocates are more of warm leads. So what processes do you have in place that are designed to elevate your advocates, your clients, and help them become advocates? So a much better position having a book of advocates. Well, what's better than an advocate? That's a raving fan. You see, where an advocate is more passive. If someone asks them about your goods and services, they'll gladly give the information and make that recommendation. They will sing you praises. But the rarer person is the raving fan. You see, the raving fan, they don't even need to be engaged. They will gladly preach your business, your goods and services to anyone that will listen. These are the ones that will go online and give you 5-star reviews unsolicited from you, and they'll share their entire story with the world as often as people will listen because you blew their mind. Oftentimes there's a misconception because businesses think that they only have one opportunity and that's right when they become a customer. No, it's about continuing the relationship. We have many clients of ours at Yokel Local that started off as customers. They became clients and advocates and they became raving fans, and maybe that process took a year. It's about doing the right thing over and over and having many opportunities to blow their mind where not only can they never imagine not doing business with you, but they want to tell the world about your goods and services because they can't imagine anyone else not doing business with you. So as we think about that for just a moment, I want you to rate yourself, right? On the customer ladder, Ascension, Expansion, it's the same thing. Where would you rate yourself? In this particular scenario, I'm like, okay, we're going to give ourselves a 4, right? So the next thing that I want you to think about is your reviews and testimonials. What do you have going on there? If someone were to go to wherever you get reviews in your business, for many businesses, it's places like Google My Business, it's Yelp, Trustpilot, Avo, and Justia. There's lots of different places where people leave reviews. So as it pertains to your goods and services, what are people saying about you? So what we're looking at here is, how do you compare to your competitors in the marketplace in terms of quantity and quality? And you may have to pause the video here. So if I was looking for your goods and services and I go online, you give me the name of your company, and now I want to do a little research on you. And I do research on you how are you going to show up? And you can't say, well, you know what, normally we'd be great, but we've had a couple of upset people leave reviews. Don't buy into that garbage. If you're doing good business, there are some happy people that should be leaving you reviews. And if they aren't, well, that may give you the opportunity to let you know that you don't have as many raving fans as you thought, or advocates or raving fans as you should have. So the scenario is, right now, where are you at? How would you rate yourself on your reviews and testimonials in a public forum where others can check it out? There's some huge studies out there that suggest that some people won't even do business with you. I believe the latest study I saw from Bright Local for 2019, their consumer study, it's like 47% of the market won't even do business with you if you have a less than a 4-star rating. That's huge, and that holds true for many industries. So how would you rate yourself in terms of reviews and testimonials as compared to your competitors in the marketplace? If we look at this particular scenario, we're going to say, okay, you know what, we're going to give ourselves not quite a 4. Maybe I'll put my little dot on this marketing wheel somewhere in between. And then the next scenario that we want to look at is generating referrals. How's that happening? Are you generating referrals? Do your customers tell others to go see you? I run into a lot of business that are doing a great business with generating referrals. As a matter of fact, 100% of their business comes from referrals. And that's awesome, but that's not a predictable or sustainable model. You need to have other avenues to generate business. So are you good at generating referrals? Because I'm sure you know that when you get a lot of referrals, those are usually the easiest sales to convert because you've already had a raving fan or an advocate or a client tell them everything they needed to know in order for them to reach out to you and do business with you. So in this particular scenario, when we talk about generating referrals, we're going to give this fictional company a 5. So now here's the next stage that I want you to do. And this next stage is important because we're going to see what your marketing wheel looks like. We're going to connect the dots. But before you connect the dots, I want you to have some fluidity to it. So imagine that this was your wheel and you start connecting the dots. The dots are going to look something like this, right? And now I want you to go and connect your dots to see what your marketing wheel looks like. So here's the marketing wheel here. And if that was a wheel, it's a little flat in a couple of areas. That wheel's not going to roll too well. Is that a fair statement? Absolutely. That wheels need some problems. So what do we do? How do we fix it, right? How do we determine how we set our marketing strategy in a post-COVID world? Well, in this scenario, we've just developed lots of clarity, and it gives us direction on what we should be working on. So we look for some of the low-lying fruit. So in this scenario, let's say if you look at this marketing wheel and you're like, oh my gosh, Stormie, you know what? I don't need to put my money and energy and effort into awareness. I need to increase engagement, or I need to increase lead gen. So what does that look like? Well, now, because we can see this wheel has some problems. If you were all 5 stars, if you give yourself a 5 in every category, you'd have a nice wheel that's just rolling along with perpetual motion. But Let's say if you said it's engagement, you want to increase engagement. It's just a scenario of how do you take yourself from a 1 to a 2? What systems and processes? Maybe improve your social media posting, improve your content, improve your emails. How do you do that? You put a plan. It's a strategy. Remember Sun Tzu talked about tactics without strategy. Well, now we're adding the strategy to your tactics. And if that's your low-lying fruit, that's what we work on. And so now you've worked on to increase your engagement. You've gone from a 2 to a 3. Well, now what's the process of taking that, that we've moved it from a 2 to a 3? How do we move that 2 to a 3 and that 3 to a 4? And then what happens is we continue that particular type of process around the wheel. It's really important that you have the clarity so you know what you should be working on, where you should be putting your energy and effort. You see, marketing to grow your business in a post-COVID world really comes down to these 8 categories. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's just a matter of figuring out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your lowest lying fruit is, and then it gives you direction to move forward. So as we continue there, you can see this wheel's already looking a little bit more like a wheel. We can fix one thing at a time. So as we continue, there's another component to the wheel in another video, which you can check. If you subscribe to this channel, maybe you've seen this other video or maybe you haven't, but I have another video that's called Buyer Personas in a Post-Marketing World, and those two tie in hand, because what happens is, and so look for this video, Buyer Personas, Marketing in a Post-COVID World. Well, the reason that the buyer persona is so important is because if you have a very effective buyer persona, and what the buyer persona does is, I'll give you a quick synopsis but basically it helps you identify who your ideal client is, what they're thinking, what their triggering events are, what their emotions are. So this way, it gives you this psychographic profile of your ideal client. And if you have that type of information prior to working on these elements of your marketing wheel, your strategy is going to be far superior because you know more about your customer than maybe you've ever known before. So now what happens is the strategies, the playbooks that you put in place around this marketing wheel, all of these strategies become this force that's just pushing your wheel out to 5s, and now you end up with marketing results unlike you've maybe never even imagined. So the reason we went through this exercise is because sequence matters. We've already talked about that. And if you do things in the wrong sequence, you may not be getting the results that you deserve. So can you see why clarity is critical before you spend the next dollar in your marketing endeavors? That's why I felt compelled to share this video with you, so this way you can start here so you know where to focus your energy and efforts, or have your team focus their energy and efforts. And it's designed to give everyone clarity. Imagine this for just a moment, right? If that's your marketing wheel, if you build one stage out at a time, let's say if your goal is to get 2 times the results across each and every one of these. So whatever your awareness is, you're like, okay, how do I get 2 times the results I'm getting now? Go for it. That's your cue to move to the next category. Now engagement, how do I get 2 times the results? Well, if you were to do that consistently, you end up with this scenario to where, 2 to the power of 8, that's like 256 times improvement. You want to talk about predictable growth and taking your business to the next level? Absolutely. You do one stage at a time and you get it right, and then you move on to the next. And here's a point that I want to illustrate for you. Imagine this for just a moment. Imagine that you are in the peak of one of these mountains, right? And your definition of success is on the other peak. So we have you, let's drop you down on one side, and now let's drop your definition of success on the other side, your pot of gold, and let's take a look at this, and let's do this together. One stage at a time is so critical because when our company is retained, you see, we have 3 models where people have us do this work for them, we do this work with them, or we teach them how to do it. But one of the first things that we do is we look for what we call half-built bridges. And I can tell you that most of the organizations, if not all of the organizations that we start doing marketing for, have an inventory of half-built bridges. So what this exercise is designed to help you do is identify some of your half-built bridges. So you see, you may have a bridge that you've started down the path. You've started down the path to help you take your organization to the next level. Unfortunately, that bridge was never completed. It's a half-built bridge. It really doesn't quite get you there. And then what happens is you stop building that bridge because some other distraction or some other squirrel came along, so you started building that bridge. And then you start building another bridge. And now you just have this inventory, like I said, of half-built bridges. Well, what if this exercise here helps you go back, identify the bridge that's closest to being completed, and then you complete it. Once that bridge is complete, it allows you to get back and forth. It gives you greater results than maybe you've gotten before, and it helps you complete the other bridges. So now what happens is you get to move over to whatever that pot of gold happens to be. So like I stated earlier, my name is Stormie. I'm the founder of Yokel Local. We have 3 different ways of working with you. For you, our team, we got a rock star team. We can do the marketing for you. The other scenario is with you, where we work with your team. And then we also have the model, which is what we're part of right now, is teaching you. We're teaching you how to do marketing the right way, which are designed to give you more profits. Now, if you wanted to speak with someone on our team about your particular scenario, because you probably have a very unique scenario, click on the link, click on the button down below and request a free consultation. We'll give you a 30-minute consultation. As it pertains to the buyer persona, like I said, I am the creator of the world's best buyer persona system. That's really what gives you the ability of developing better marketing strategies in a post-COVID world. Motivations have changed. This book helps you identify that, and you can get that book wherever books are sold. And with that being said, well, let me back up before I finish here. One of the reasons you want to do this and why it's so important is because what this is designed to help you do, following the tips and tricks and tactics that are designed to go with the solid strategy, is designed to help you from being just more noise in the marketplace. I'm sure you'll agree with me. There's a lot of noise out there. How do you cut through the noise to get in front of your ideal clients? Well, starts with the buyer's persona. You build out a marketing wheel so this way you have direction on where to take your business moving forward. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And remember, as always, if you like what you saw here, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us help you. If there's a topic you would like me to discuss, put it in the comment section. I very well may do that for you and address your very topic on a future video. And be sure to subscribe so this way you're notified next time we kick out some kick butt videos like this one here. This is Stormie Andrews, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.